The earliest memories I have of my narcissistic mother are of being afraid of her. Even as early as 3 or 4 years of age, I understood that my mother was not a source of warmth, affection, or security. While she might have loved the attention she initially gained when I was born, I soon became nothing more than a drag on her self-concept. I had to grow up very quickly to deal with this emotional abandonment, but no matter what I did, I could never please her. Her behavior is typical of many narcissistic parents after they've had a baby, and it's an important topic given that narcissistic parents' behavior affects their children for the rest of their lives. Let's take a look at just what happens when a narcissist has a baby. Why do some narcissistic parents lose interest in their baby? Losing interest in their baby is one of 2 possible outcomes for a narcissistic parent. They just can't provide the child with the consistent focus that new babies require. Once the attention they receive as a new parent begins to die down, the narcissist starts to lose interest. Their baby is not capable of giving them the narcissistic supply of adoration they need to survive, and as a result, the narcissist has little interest in parenting. It doesn't serve them. Many narcissistic parents will begin to rely increasingly on other caregivers to raise their child at this point. They may hire a nanny, or they may require older children to take on parental responsibilities. They may also put the bulk of the responsibility on their spouse. Part of the problem with a new parent simply walking away from their caregiving responsibilities is that it can be devastating to an infant's development of a healthy concept of self. It begins with something called mirroring. Mirroring is when your parents mimic your expressions, vocalizations, behaviors, and moods as an infant. This mimicry helps a developing infant to associate emotions with the expression of those emotions. By doing this, parents validate and approve of their infant's emotions, and this is key to healthy child development. For you to develop a healthy sense of self, you need this validation. It also helps you feel secure about what you're experiencing at this young age. It helps you to learn valuable social skills. Without mirroring, a child won't learn to relate their emotions to socially learned expressions. As adults, they have difficulty expressing their emotions, which strains their adult relationships. What's worse, many narcissistic parents who have lost interest in their baby mirror negative expressions in response to their infant's needs. This causes even worse damage. Why do all narcissistic parents disconnect? Regardless of whether the narcissistic parent becomes overly controlling or loses interest, both cases involve emotional disconnection. The narcissist who loses interest does so because their infant child has needs they must attend to, but that child can't give back to them the narcissistic supply they require. At the other extreme, the overly controlling parent also emotionally disconnects from the needs of their child. They see only that they must protect their own self-image, and they push their children to do everything they tell them to in order to prevent their true self from being exposed. In neither case is the narcissist a warm, loving parent, and they certainly don't provide their child with the unconditional love they require to develop into healthy, independent adults. This emotional disconnection is arguably what does the worst damage to a developing child. It causes them to have their own problems with identity. They might become narcissists themselves, or they might become people-pleasing codependents. The damage done is often lifelong and prevents the narcissist child from forming any kind of healthy adult relationship. That often suits the narcissist just fine because they want their children to stay around and continue to satisfy and soothe their need to boost their self-esteem. They don't want their children to leave them behind and live lives of their own. The children of narcissists who buy into this kind of treatment often have difficulties with finding a life partner or forming strong friendships. It's a sad situation because without professional help, these children are often doomed to a life serving their selfish, narcissistic parent. Why do narcissistic parents withdraw their affection? The love of a narcissist is conditional. It is what the humanist psychologist Carl Rogers referred to as conditional positive regard. If you behave in a way that pleases your narcissistic parent, they shower you with love. But if you don't, you're effectively dead to them. Narcissists don't have the ability to hold a positive thought about someone with whom they are upset. This is called object constancy, and it's the one thing a narcissist doesn't have because of their fragile identity mechanism. Even a narcissist child is subjected to the withdrawal of affection that happens as a consequence of bad behavior. My narcissistic mother would do this regularly. I remember being stunned by just how fast she could go from being a loving mother to being a block of ice. I couldn't understand how she could withdraw her affection so quickly. It was shocking, and for many years it was an effective way of controlling my behavior. I lived in fear of displeasing her because she would just become so cold to me. But no matter what I did, I couldn't make her happy. In fact, I don't ever remember a time when my mother told me I had done a good job or that she was proud of me. Even if she was pleased by what I had done, her praise always came with a caveat. She would say something like, "Well, it took you long enough, but you finally did something right." That's not exactly glowing adulation. You can be certain, however, that she expected me to shower her regularly with praise. Do narcissistic parents engage in mommy wars? Another thing narcissistic parents do is to engage in mommy wars or daddy wars. They encourage their children to compete with other children. They even encourage aggressive competition and may bully their own children to spur them on. This is part of their superiority complex. They want to show the world that they are superior parents, and to do that, their children must be able to outcompete any other children. What's more, this competition isn't limited to sports or physical activities. Narcissistic parents will put their children in competition with other parents' children for such things as achieving a certain development stage, academic scores, and even popularity. One great example of this was the case of the narcissistic mother who hired a hitman to kill the mother of her daughter's main rival for a spot on the cheerleading squad. Her thinking was that the rival would be too distraught to continue trying out for the squad. This narcissistic mother was actually willing to kill someone to see her daughter be victorious over her rival. Now that's a mommy war. Do narcissists love their children? The way a narcissist treats their children, you would be forgiven for thinking that they don't love them. That's not necessarily something that anyone can answer because it's difficult to know what someone really has in their heart. What is clear, however, is that they don't know how to express love. The way they treat their children is clearly not in line with what most people interpret as an expression of love. It is, in fact, consistent with emotional abuse. Narcissists are human, however, and as such, they must feel positive feelings for some people. Their children would surely be among the people they feel close to, but unfortunately, their mental disorder prevents them from showing that love because it makes them vulnerable. They can't ever let themselves be vulnerable, and they can't let other people get too close because that threatens the exposure of their true self. They don't want anyone to see what they believe to be is a truly flawed sense of self. Finally, narcissistic parents are among the most abusive parents a child can have. They do extensive damage to their children, and that damage often cripples their children for the rest of their life. Their emotional abuse leaves scars that act as triggers for manipulation and control. They have no compunction about hurting their children. They only care about getting their narcissistic needs met, and it doesn't matter to them who they hurt in the process. About the only thing a child of a narcissistic parent can do is to try to heal the damage done and stop further abuse. That has been part of my life's mission, to help other children of narcissistic parents heal. Toward that end, I have created a 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers. This is a free guide that will help any victim of narcissistic abuse recognize, defuse, and even heal their emotional wounds that act as triggers. If you can heal those wounds, a narcissist will no longer be able to trigger you so that they can more easily manipulate and control you. It's one step in a journey toward a healthier, happier life. Just click on the link below the video, and I'll send this helpful guide directly to your inbox. Thanks for watching.